Hi, Spencer, I need a ride.
Hello and welcome to On Point. I'm Alex Milojkovich. Since 2011, companies like Uber and Lyft private transportation services have been changing the business of ride-sharing. Faster response times, better experiences, and better driver availability have all given the new age taxis a leg up on traditional taxi services. As a result, taxi drivers are having a hard time keeping customers and are losing business. On Point reporter Evan Robinson asked one taxi driver how he feels about new age ride-sharing.
They come here and they hustle to steal our trips.
Okay.
And they claim they have calls, but they don't have calls. When you have Uber call, you have to come right away and pick up your customer, you have to leave. You don't have to park. It's like TCB. But what they do, they park like a taxi driver and they hustle like us everywhere, every corner to steal our trips.
What makes Uber and Lyft different from traditional taxi services is the company's use of mobile applications. Now, instead of having to get a cab driver's attention by waving them down, Uber and Lyft customers simply get on the app wherever they are, and the closest driver will pick them up, sending a confirmation text message when the driver arrives. The way drivers are chosen is simple. Just get the app. Once the application is downloaded, a potential Uber or Lyft driver must sign up with their information, prove they have a safe driving record, and have a reliable car before sending it in for approval. If the driver's approved, the company sends them a cell phone to handle all business ventures. One would assume that because the new age cab drivers don't go through the proper training regular taxis do, they wouldn't be as efficient. However, this isn't the case. Statistics for Uber show that in San Francisco, the city which it was founded, 94% of Uber cabs arrived within 15 minutes of getting a call, compared to only 27% of traditional taxis arriving that quickly. Taxi cab companies became upset with the new age ride-sharing services and immediately began questioning the background checks for Uber and Lyft's drivers. Despite receiving cease and desist letters from the city of Los Angeles and negative publicity from local taxi companies, Uber and Lyft's customer satisfaction helped the businesses flourish in a city that's not really known for its public transportation.
You know, it's the consumer that has the right to have a choice. You know, if they want to take a taxi, then, you know, it's completely, you know, up to them. But I believe that there's room for the market to grow, and ride sharing is definitely a cheaper experience and a better experience because we rate both the drivers and the passengers.
So are companies like Uber and Lyft the future of public transportation? Or are traditional taxi companies still the safest and most efficient way to get around LA? On Point's Jennifer Rufer has more. Jennifer?
Thank you, Alex. For today's discussion, I have Uber driver Terry Jones, Urban Studies professor Mintesnot Woldeamanuel, and Anthropology professor and former taxi driver Wallace Zane. Thank you all for joining me.
Thank you.
My first question is for you, Terry. Why did you choose to use Uber to make money?
I feel like it was a good opportunity, good idea to, you know, free my schedule up, you know, get in the car and just coast down and just pick people up, give people rides, you know, get people home safely, and a good way to make money.
Do you like it so far?
I love it, yeah.
Tell me about Uber's terms of agreements. What is required to be an Uber driver?
Basically, just a valid driver's license, you know. They do background checks on your driver's license, you know, no criminal history, and there's just other, honestly, it's not that extensive. You do a little background check, and basically about a week, they send you a phone, and then you just start driving. Turn it on, and you just go.
It's interesting, and you just sign up through the app, right?
The app, yeah.
What resources does Uber provide you with after they clear your background check?
Well, they give you the phone, they give you a GPS system, and basically you just get on the road and go. Like, it's very simple. People think that it's a lot more to it, but turn the phone on and go.
Interesting. Professor Zane, as an ethnographer, you spent a couple years in the 90s working as a taxi driver in LA. What can you tell me about the taxi cab culture and how taxi cab drivers make money?
Okay, well, taxi cab drivers make money through fares and tips from their customers. Cab drivers, how the industry works in Los Angeles is different from how it works in other cities. And there are very many different systems for how the income for drivers and the companies work, depending upon the city. But it's pretty consistent throughout Los Angeles County. And the cab driver pays a lease, or sometimes it's called a rent, to the cab company every night or sometimes once a week. And the lease is between, let me stop and say that I did my research in 1997 and 1998. I have not kept up with developments since then, so I'm sure the numbers could change and perhaps even some of the laws have changed. But at that time, the lease was between $40 and $75 for a 12-hour shift. and shifts are 12 hours. And the agreement is the cab driver has to pay the lease every single night for most companies. A few companies will have to make a driver pay 7 days. But this means that the driver then has to earn enough money through fares and tips to pay the lease and also pay all the gas, and only over that is what they keep. And so it's possible that some nights you make no money, and that's a very sad night. It's pretty tough to be a cab driver. And most of the cab drivers that I knew, I drove for, I did an ethnographical study of the cab drivers, and I drove for 5 different companies, so it's slightly different in these 5 different companies, and there's many more companies in Los Angeles. And most of the cab drivers that I knew actually owed money to the companies. So the drivers only make money from what they make above what they have to pay to the company. The companies only make money through the leases of the cabs, and so it is in the interest of the companies to get as many drivers as possible. And so that kind of makes it easy to be a cab driver because they're so eager that sometimes they will let you go out without even getting your license. And in contrast with what I've just heard about the Uber, getting a taxi cab license is rather difficult. Most of the cities make you take a test, you have to be fingerprinted, you have to have usually a week or two of background check and before they'll let you. In the city of Santa Monica, the cab industry is regulated by the same entity that regulated massage parlors. So the idea here is you're in intimate contact with people, so I want to make sure you don't have like a felony record. Although most of the cab drivers had arrest records of various kinds, but as long as they hadn't been in jail for a year, then they were okay to drive.
About how much money did you walk with each night, if you made any money?
It was highly variable, and it depended upon how many drivers are out on the road. But you know, if you have no skills other than driving, it's something you can do. Although many very skilled people, like many people with master's degrees, I knew 2 cab drivers with MFA in film and television, and so they feel like they're not having opportunity elsewhere, and they need to do something to make money. There's no average. My first week I made $600 surplus, and the next week I owed $20 after working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. So being a cab driver is a pretty tough job. I always feel sorry for cab drivers.
Yeah, that seems really intense. Terry, how many hours do you usually work per shift, and how many days per week?
Well, I usually work about 6-7 hours per day. You know, about every day except Sundays. You know, take a rest. But that's the good thing about Uber. I don't have to lease. I use my own vehicle, so you know, and just drive. You know, and yeah. And
you make your own schedule.
Make my own schedule, 24 hours.
How much revenue do you usually generate each shift?
Each shift I usually make about, I set a goal for myself, so I'll make $250 every day, and then I'll stop. So however long it takes me to make $250 is however long I'll go, you know.
And do you find that you get more, you know, requests during the day or at night, or do you do varying shifts?
It really depends on the location I'm in. So during the day I'll go like to downtown where there's a lot of college students, small, you know, so I'll just do little trips around there, and then at night I'll go to Hollywood or Santa Monica and do trips at bars and give people rides that, you know, and
So is this your primary means of income right now?
Well, I do this and massage therapy, so it's kind of like I'm able to have a free schedule, you know? Yeah.
And I know that Uber takes about 20% of what you make from your rides.
Well, so they take 20% the first month, then after that it's only 5%.
Oh.
So that's actually a lot of money.
Okay. Well, my next question was, is it profitable for you to use the service?
Yeah.
So, okay.
See, the first month is only 20% because you're paying for the phone that they give you. They send you a phone immediately. So they take 20% out of the check that you're going to get. You get paid every week. And, yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. Professor Woldeamanuel, you've studied transportation in urban areas. In your opinion, what's the problem with America's dependency on automobiles?
Oh yeah, there is a huge problem with automobile dependencies. The first thing is the environmental problem. You know, transportation is the second largest source of greenhouse gas emission according to EPA, so next to electric power. So pollution is a big problem, and pollution also can tie with a health problem, social problem. So automobile is creating a lot of problem in urban area. You know, it has economic implication, it has social implication. It seems like we are driving everywhere, so car is becoming our second home. That is because of our land use. You know, the way our land use is set up is the way the place we live and the place we shop are further apart. So we don't have any other means but to drive. So we don't have more options. Because of that, we all are driving, and driving is creating a lot of problem, mainly environmental issues. Yeah.
How do you expect these new on-demand ride-sharing services will affect transportation in urban areas like Los Angeles, San Francisco?
I think it has a tremendous effect and a very quick effect. It's changing the urban landscape in a great deal. I mean, how people travel, you know,
right.
In an area where, you know, there is congestion, there is driving everywhere, there is gridlock everywhere, and we have limited public transportation services, limited and inefficient public transit system. And even the taxi it's very difficult to hail a taxi especially in the San Fernando Valley area. So with all this problem, having this new system is, you know, giving another option for the consumer. So it is changing travel a great deal. In urban planning for a long time, we are pushing for this collaborative consumerism, like, you know, how can we live in apartments than a single family houses? Yeah. We can share, you know, a building. How can we design our cities in a compacted way, close to each other? It hasn't been popular for a long time. Now this collaborative consumption is coming in a new way through the Uber and Lyft system. People are sharing cars. So it is a new way of, you know, this shared economy. Yeah. So traveling is changing very quickly.
Professor Zane, how does insurance work for taxi drivers?
Yes, the insurance is included in the lease, and my understanding from speaking with the owners is the insurance is almost half of the lease. And so if you're paying $50 a night, then that's going to be $25 of insurance. And so I would imagine that cab company owners might be concerned about businesses like Uber, where I assume, Terry, you're using your own insurance.
Right, right.
Yeah, and also, I mean, maybe even insurance companies might be concerned about that they were charging for a private vehicle and now it's become a public vehicle. But I don't know if anything's been done to address that. Do
taxi companies have commercial insurance or private insurance, and what's the difference?
Oh no, it's insurance as a public conveyance. So this is what we were instructed in pretty much every company is be very careful because everybody knows you have insurance. So if they hit you, they will blame you, so they don't have to pay for it.
Right.
Yeah, although I should say that there's quite a lot of illegal companies that are generally called bandits, and at least 5 or 6 rather large bandit companies in Los Angeles. And there they manufacture or purchase insurance cards that are fake. So there are a lot of companies that don't have insurance. There's also some legitimate companies that cancel their insurance right after they're inspected by the police. And you might be able to detect those because they're the ones where the name keeps changing on the door because they keep changing the name every time they get in an accident. They have to file bankruptcy. And so you see some strangely named companies where they just change one letter that makes it come out looking strange.
Interesting. Yeah. So Terry, how does insurance work for you when you're for hire while driving for Uber?
Well, when they do the background check, so it's only for your driver's license. So they make sure that you have the proper like commercial insurance to have people in your car, but they're very strict on that. It's not like, I think people they think that Uber's very lenient about. It's actually not, because they will turn your service off very fast, and because you're in a rate system. And it's like best out of 5, and if your rate drops, you will get dropped so fast. So insurance, you have to be, covered, because they're not going to get sued.
So does Uber cover damages if you're found at fault for an accident?
If you're on at the time, if you're running it and doing revenues and getting your money, they will cover you at the time, because it has your point, your location, everything. So they know where you are at all times. So if you have an accident, you should report it, and they should cover it.
Right, so an Uber driver is facing charges for killing a 6-year-old girl in San Francisco while driving for Uber on New Year's Eve. And reports say he didn't have any passengers in the car at the time. That's sort of the issue. So it's unclear if he was on the clock or not. When are you considered on the clock versus off the clock?
Well, when you have your Uber phone on, and if you have someone in the car, technically you're still on because you can get a call at any time if the phone's on. If you have a customer in the car, you're completely covered, because you're using their service. But yeah, basically, I also hear about that situation that the person wasn't even from San Francisco. He drove from across the country because San Francisco is where it's from, originated in.
Right.
It's very heavily used out there, so there's a lot of money. It's more expensive out there, So, yeah.
Are you afraid of getting in an accident, fatal or otherwise, while on the clock?
Well, I think you fear of that because it's very dangerous driving. But when I have customers in the car, I drive very slow, and they want to feel safe in your car, So.
Right, and again, you said you get rated, so
exactly. So you need that good rating.
A customer can rate you a 1.
And I could also rate the customer, so it's pretty good,
So this question's for all of you. How do these ride-sharing services affect safety laws? And I can start with you, Professor Woldeamanuel.
Yeah, of course it's affecting safety laws in many ways. You give very good example. The Uber or Lyft drivers are in most places. Los Angeles is the first one. No, California is the first one to regulate it. Having insurance, just having your cars checked. But in other places, still, it's not regulated. So that is tied into a safety issue, right? Whatever happens, you are not liable for that, right? That's why some states are thinking even to ban the service altogether. Minneapolis is thinking about just banning it altogether.
Well,
yeah.
So LAX, they stopped it. When I first started about 7 months ago, I was able to go to LAX, and I was making a lot of money just going back and forth to LAX. And then taxi drivers started complaining, and it was over with.
How were they able to tell that you were an Uber driver?
Well, actually, because you see the phone in the car, and a lot of Uber drivers have GPS up, and we're not hiding it, But now you cannot work. You don't get any signal in LAX anymore. But other airports all around California, LA, you can. It's just LAX, so
And getting into a car with somebody you don't
know exactly.
It's a little nerve-wracking. I have that experience a long time ago when I was in Germany. They have similar system, not through a mobile phone, but through internet. I was with my wife going from Berlin to Frankfurt, and I was with two guys. It was a nerve-wracking, for a 4-hour, 5-hour, 6-hour drive, being with your wife in a car. So there is this safety issue. So it is. It's
very dangerous. It's very dangerous. Especially I work in clubs a lot also, and there's a lot of impersonators, like people that will wait outside the club just to give you a ride, and it's very dangerous because a lot of people at the time are intoxicated, so they'll hop in any car just to get home. It's very dangerous. Yeah.
Was there anything you wanted to add?
About affecting safety laws? Yeah, I'm just learning about Uber right now, so I don't know.
Professor Woldeamanuel, how does urban planning play into these new types of transportation options?
Honestly speaking, it's not ready. Urban planning field, even cities are not ready for such kind of a new type of transportation. That's why you can hear a buzz, everywhere you go, every city you go. In some cities they don't even started to regulate things, because they don't know how to do it. How does it fit into, the usual affordable transportation or public transportation? Can we call it a public transportation or a private public transportation? It is, so it's not settled yet. It's new. You can't blame it. So, but I really appreciate what Los Angeles or California is doing, at least giving recognition and then regulate it and then make it part of the urban transportation system, right? Because some cities are really freaking out right now.
They are.
Yeah, of course, the reason is they want to protect also the taxi industry. That is a formal industry. This one is kind of semi-informal industry. It's affecting the taxis. So, yeah, in Seattle, they are restricting the service. Yeah, like at a given time, only 150 drivers can be on the street.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, because it is they don't want to ban it. At the same time, they don't want to also, give it a full go. Right. So they are restricting it. So yeah, it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be a main part of the public or the urban transportation system, but the discussion is still going on at different level. Yeah.
Professor Zane, what are the positives and negatives of these ride-sharing services, even taxis, and how they're different? But what are the positives and negatives?
Yeah, I think the positive is you have fewer automobiles on the road, and you have somebody you can call if you're drunk at a bar or if your car breaks down. So there's something positive. I like that it gives, as was mentioned already, options now. So there's different ways to go. The City of Los Angeles tries to restrict the number of taxi cabs. That's from lobbying from the taxi cab companies, or the number of taxi cab companies, and the taxi cab companies they can't have too many drivers or the drivers will quit because they won't make enough money. So it's good that there are other options for the consumer. On the other side, for safety, I mean, it sounds like it's being addressed. Sounds like people are working on it. Yeah.
Terry, what's your response to taxi drivers saying drivers like you are stealing their businesses?
They're very difficult. Like, they're very difficult. They're very aggressive, and so I'm just aggressive back with them. Like, they're just regular guys to me. I really don't deal with taxi drivers that much because they hang in little posses, like little gangs. So I just really, focus on the customer, and I just don't really worry about taxis like that. Except for the parking, they're always there. So, yeah.
Professor Zane, how do you expect taxi drivers will adjust to avoid the loss in business?
I think we're already seeing that they have their own cell phones, that they are not only relying on the company for customers, and that now they're encouraging the customers to contact them directly, so something almost mimicking these other services. And they've already now, what I'm seeing, I haven't done the research on it, but I'm seeing that they often have GPS in their cars, so they're able to more quickly respond to get where they need to be. But I feel like there's not a whole lot they can do because somebody who can be an Uber driver can do lots of other jobs, whereas when you're a cab driver, it's such a strong commitment in time, and so I don't think there's much they can do, but they are adapting a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'll ask all of you, what does the future of transportation look like? And I'll start with you, Professor Zane.
Yes, I think we're seeing that more connection between people, and this is because of the internet, and also the old means are not going away. So we're still having bicycles, we're still having trains, we're still having everything, and this is how it's worked in pretty much everything. In journalism, you still have newspapers, and you're adding other things, and I think that's what we'll continue to see, more diversity.
Right.
I think people are tired of driving.
Right.
Because the sustainability issue is becoming a 21st century issue. There is a pressure from different directions that we have to drive less. So in order to drive less, you need to have more options. Right. So this Uber or Lyft, this new type of real-time ride-sharing programs can be one option in the public transportation, and I'm so glad it's changing it. It's changing it. So it's going to be the future. The future, and it influenced the taxi industry too. Yeah, they will come to that system. Quite sure. Yeah.
Also, I think the future is happening now. Is the apps, and I think it's also helping on DUIs. And less like drunk driving accidents because you're hopping into a car with somebody that's not drinking, obviously, and it's just. I think it's better customer service. Dealing with people. And networking also is a very good way to network and meet new people every day.
I want to thank you all for being here with me today. That was a great discussion. Now back to you, Alex.
After this break, I will be back to talk to Jennifer and On Point's Evan Robinson about their experience using Uber and Lyft.
There's no place like home.
Getting home safely is just a click away. And choosing the right seat for your little one's age and size will take you down the road to safer travels.
How can I ever thank you enough?
Visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat.
People think I'm trash, but they're wrong.
Today, I'm just an aluminum can. But one day, I could be a stadium.
Welcome back to On Point. Joining me now are Evan and Jen. How you guys doing?
Hi.
And for shooting for our show today, you guys got to ride in both an Uber and a Lyft vehicle. Can you tell me a little bit about the experience that you guys went through?
Well, yeah, at first we decided to take Uber from Redondo Beach to Hermosa Beach, and we had a little bit of technical difficulties with the app, so then we decided to take Lyft instead. And from Lyft, we got a chance to talk to the driver right away. He called us right away after we requested it, and it took him literally, I think, about 15 minutes to get to us.
Yeah, we were able to obviously get the driver. It didn't take very long once we got the technical difficulties straightened out, and it was a very welcoming experience just hopping in. Of course, we had a camera, but he was really open to that, and it was pretty easy getting the driver. You just open the app, request the driver, let them know where you're going to go. They let you know how long it's going to take, 7, 15 minutes, and they let you know the price right then and there as well. So we knew our first ride ended up being about $9, but we did end up getting it for free, which was a huge surprise. I think there's like promos for people for your first ride, so that was really cool. And drove out, dropped us off, said thanks.
Yeah, the Lyft driver was very, very nice, very personable. He let us sit in the front seat, let us change the radio station if we wanted to. So yeah,
had water, little to-go bags with like candy, and it
was really nice.
I mean, it seems like they want to impress you. I mean, it's good.
Yeah.
Right, and then there's also the whole rating system. So they want you to rate them high. So they've got all everybody's got their thing in their car. So he had like the water and the candy, and somebody else might have something else, pizza or whatever, I don't know.
Next time you guys want to ride home from somewhere, do you think you're going to call the new sort of ride-sharing companies such as Uber or Lyft, or do you think you're going to go with a traditional taxi?
Well, I think it depends on like the timing and stuff. If I have time to call call Uber from the app, I would do that instead of trying to hail a taxi cab.
Yeah, if you're leaving the club or wherever and there's a taxi right there and you haven't thought about your transportation for the night, I don't see anything wrong with just hopping in a taxi in terms of timing. But if you're like, okay, we're gonna leave it about 15 minutes, let's call our ride now because you wanna be really on top of things, then it's definitely, I think, a little more worthwhile. I definitely see myself in the future using Uber and Lyft for a lot of reasons, day or night.
And a lot of people liked Uber better than taxi cabs. They thought that Uber was more personable. They got a chance to, actually talk to the driver instead. In taxi cabs, they feel like it's like a brick wall in front of them, and they're not allowed to talk to anybody or anything.
And that does it for us here at On Point. If you would like to learn more, look on our website at CSUNTVnews.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at CSUN On Point. From all of us here, I'm Alex Milojkovich. Have a good day.